Hello, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Hidden Truths channel. How's everybody doing this Friday morning? I hope you're well. Today's live stream is going to be about what the heck happened to Trump. Compared to candidate Trump, the one working at McDonald's and in the garbage truck, compared to the one we got now, two different animals. And we're going to discuss that a little bit. But, our politicians hate us. They hate us. I don't know why. I mean, we're the ones who pay their salaries and stuff. Don't they know if we go away, they go away? But our politicians hate us. Every last one. I mean, Beto O'Rourke. Hell yeah, we're going to take your AR-15s, your AK-47s. I mean, why do politicians need to disarm us so bad? Why is it such a priority for a politician to disarm us? And they're all protected by guns surrounding them and stuff. Yep. So they must know that guns protect people, but the American citizens just aren't allowed to have that luxury to have a gun to protect themselves. This is what they think. No, so they can totally take over. But our politicians completely hate us. Every last one. All you people have kids in school have to deal with these absolutely retarded school boards. All these school boards. When my kids were in school back in the 2000s, early 2000s, up until I think my last one was to graduate 2019. These school boards, we pay for their luxurious lives. But anyway, let's get into the subject. I've been here a couple minutes. What the heck has happened to Trump? I mean, that interview with Laura Ingraham, she had him dancing. And we all see the tune what tune he's dancing to, who's playing it, and it sure ain't the American people. I mean, Trump, when you want to say that Americans aren't capable, does that also include your son, Barron Trump? Does that include him too? Is he not capable of even entry-level jobs anymore? Americans aren't capable of even entry-level jobs anymore? The only thing I'm not capable of doing is becoming a slave to a tyrant, being a communist, being any of that totalitarian bullshit. I'm a hardworking individual. I can do anything. I put my mind to it. I have ambition. Maybe he shouldn't have said Americans aren't capable. Maybe he should have phrased it different. Most Americans don't have the ambition. You sat at McDonald's, right, and worked for 15 minutes at McDonald's, more than Kamala Harris worked, right? And you basically told all those people 2 days ago or 3 days ago was that they're not capable now. I mean, we're going to have H-1B visa workers come in and work all our fast food places too. And this is the thing. It's not just Trump people. It's all of the politicians that think this way of us. They hate us. All you Democrat liberals think that your Democrats love you. No, they don't. Okay? All you mega Republicans think that the politicians that call themselves mega love you. No, they don't. When Americans find out we're all in the same boat, maybe we can bond together and get our problem solved. But, all these H-1B visa workers. Now, I know in agriculture, the way it works is they actually got paid more than us because the government reimbursed the rancher or the farmer for 50% of what they got in the salary. So, same goddamn way. The taxpayer is paying half of the salary for these H-1B visa workers. That's what's going on. For these H-1B visa workers to be taking jobs from us, and then our taxes are paying half of their salary because half their salary goes back to the employer. Yeah, that's something they don't mention in that either. Over 50 million. How many jobs? Over 50 million. Get rid of the H-1B visa workers. and we got unemployment taken care of. And if our kids are not capable of doing any job that's required in the United States, it sounds like it may be a problem of the education system and the way our society's going, because we never had a problem with that years ago. I know my generation was able to fill any job that was required in the United States. Hell, we're the country that came up with the nuclear bomb. And a lot of other inventions, that the transistor. What do you mean we're not capable? By the way, this is what they think of us. We're mindless idiots. This is what happens when we get the choice of the lesser of two evils. Okay, we get to choose from somebody that was appointed on the Democratic side, Kamala Harris, who's saying all sorts of the truth. I'll say she was saying the truth, what she wants to do, but nah. And we had Trump to choose from, the lesser of two evils. Anyway, insult, insult, insult. That's all our politicians do to us. Insult, take our money, create division between Americans when, they're treating all us Americans are victims of the government. It don't matter what your political persuasion is. You're all victims of the government. And, they're just going to make it worse. But, Trump, there's a lot of Americans that are capable. A lot of us. A lot of us are ambitious. But you know what? You're giving all our jobs away to foreigners. And then all that money, that these 50 million plus, and the illegals would say 20 million. So there's 70 million plus all of employees, all that money going out of the United States. Oh, they're paying taxes, but they're not spending it here. Not capable. One day the politicians are going to find out how capable the Americans are and how much the Americans believe in the Second Amendment. Because we all know what the purpose of the Second Amendment is. It's not to go hunting. It's not even for home protection. I guess it could, can say it's for home protection against the federal government. That's what the Second Amendment's for. Okay? Bro, straight autistic. Trump #1. Well, you guys can think. See, this is the thing. There's two forms of Trump derangement syndrome. There's the form that thinks he can, is Jesus Christ. And he hears this shit, and with his ego, woo! I mean, in that interview, I know MAGA. When Laura Ingraham, that's not what MAGA stands for. Oh, I created MAGA. I know what MAGA is about. You people need to stop making him think he's Jesus Christ. Or like George Washington. He's not even close to George Washington. No president's ever been close to George Washington. Except ones that were the founding fathers. But George Washington had that little bit that nobody else had. He didn't sit in Philadelphia and stuff and run when the British were coming. He had to face the British as a general of the Continental Army. He sacrificed more than any president we got today or in the future ever will. And the thing about it is our generation, us vets and stuff, we're pissing it all away. Okay, in the Declaration of Independence, orderly word. In an order from our founding fathers far outweighs any order of independence. Those orders were passed down in the Bill of Rights to throw off a government that, intrudes on our Bill of Rights. But anyway, get back to us not capable. See, that's what I mean. These politicians, they're all beta male pieces of shit who went to college and think they're big guys. I mean, they think they're smart business people, and all they do is run businesses into the ground. I mean, anybody who graduated this PhD shit ruined more businesses than they made better. Okay, I'm sick of these business owners, but not capable. Okay, Byron Trump is not capable, right, Donald? Your son's not capable, right? So why don't you send him to his room, put him in front of his game station, and say that's the person who voted for him wants to hear. Deal with growing, I grew up born 67, so I remember Trump from the 1980s when I was growing up. I didn't like him back then. But like I say, he was the lesser of two evils. Okay? Anyway, we're finding out the real man. And then he's talking about education. These colleges. Now, I can't imagine what it's like to be an American college student on a college campus having to deal with all these foreigners for competition. Knowing that foreigner that's in that class with them, and their class is what, 2/3 foreigners now? How they're going to have to compete with all those foreigners in this country for that job that they want? And what country educates their enemy? What moronic country does that? I mean, if China is so good and advanced, why do they need to send their students here? If they're so far advanced and we're lagging behind, hey, Bambi, how you doing? Shouldn't we be sending our students over there? I mean, I guess that brainwashing, indoctrination couldn't be any worse in China than it is in the United States. Like, no joke, huge corporate farms. I know, I tell you, this is the thing when I was a kid, right? Farmers were small. There was a lot of small farmers. And now a lot of these farms that these parents died, and the kids didn't want to farm, kids my age didn't want to go back to the farm. So they plowed it under. They start selling to these big conglomerates. And yeah, in agriculture, they want only a few industries owning everything. I mean, they're going to get it so there's not going to be no jobs for Americans. Like I say, 50 plus million H-1B visas that keep going up. The illegal country who are going to get amnesty. Don't worry. The way Trump's acting, I would predict amnesty probably within a year, if not 2 years. Okay, the ones that can't get rid of. He even talked about amnesty for farm labor and stuff. Farm labor. I'm so tired, so sick and tired of listening to people say there's jobs that Americans are above doing. You mean picking our own tomatoes, growing our own food and harvesting our own food is below what Americans will do? Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, if you get that way where you don't want to pick your own tomato, nobody else is going to pick it for you either. And especially when you're a white guy who works in agriculture, I mean, it is damn near impossible to get a job. It's not like it was years ago where you could basically drive by a ranch, go, that's a nice big spread, pull up there, talk to the ramrod, and get a job. Those days are over. Tell me they are poor when they are driving 60 and 80. Yeah, I know. I remember one time going to a Dollar General, and these foreigners, they weren't speaking English, and they had like 3 EBT cards or some type of card they had, and none of it was working, right? So they finally had to pay money. They actually did pay money. And I'm in the parking lot getting ready to leave, and they come out. You know what they get into? An Escalade. A freaking Escalade. There's a lot of problems in this country. Like I say, when all of us Americans get on the same page and realize we're all being treated the same. That's why they don't want people, a channel like mine who wants to bring people together. I don't care what your political persuasion is. And frankly, I don't care what you do in your bedroom, because you're allowed to do that, just I don't have to know about it. But hey, as long as you believe in the Constitution. But they all do is want to divide us, because they don't want, the last thing they want is if your neighbor's right, your neighbor's a Democrat and you're a Republican, the last thing they want to do is hanging over the fence, talking how the day went and agreeing on stuff. I mean, neither side is happy with the government. What side's happy with the government? Not one side. But we all keep voting this shit in. But anyway, back to the education thing, right? I blame the Jews. You just earned a sub. Well, thank you. Okay, back to the schooling thing. And then Trump goes, well, if we don't have these foreign students here, We're going to have to close half our universities. Good. See, this is what happens when a university is a business. When you get into college level education, it's a business, okay? And you got it. Colleges should have to compete just like everybody else. You know, kids aren't going to go to a college if nobody in that college ever gets a job in this other college down the road. 90% of the people that go there get a job in the field they went to school in. And frankly, who cares? I mean, these schools have gotten out of control. They are paying the football players now in college. I think the Nebraska quarterback is like $1.5–2 million. You're in college. These colleges, if you can pay the athletes in the college, you can afford. This is just another way where China's going to get into our colleges, just like they got into our sports system with basketball and getting into football, and now they're going to get into college ball. Oh, it's such crock. You know, I used to enjoy Sundays and watching football from, you know, all afternoon on Sunday back in the day. And now it's a bunch of shit. God, what a bunch of shit. The way they kick off now and stuff, it's ridiculous. By the way, back to the education thing. If colleges are going to fail because we don't have foreign students here, oh well. A lot of our colleges need to fail. Maybe Harvard and Yale and all them too. Princeton. You know, these schools where parents were paying for their kids so they could get into them, and then paying for them to have good grades. Remember that stuff? So college football players should not make money for their own name. No, you're in college. You're in college. Yeah, I think the best thing is some 20-year-old college kid to have $2 million in his pocket. I think that's the best idea ever. You're in college. You're there to get an education. This is so stupid. But see, the college players are like, look at all the money that these colleges are making off our football program. We deserve some of it. No, it's crock shit, people. It's crock shit. I don't agree with it at all. Anyway, but this is where we live in. But the people that are actually going to college, you know, and then these college football players and basketball players can't put 3 words together that sound coherent. They're ignorant, probably can't add 2 + 2, and what are they going to school for, be an engineer? Then they get passed. Not because they're smart or have an education or educated, it's because they play ball. You know, years ago when, you know, people my age went to college back in the 80s and stuff, you know, and even in high school, you had to perform good academically too to be able to perform in sports. If you weren't on the honor roll, you weren't in sports. That's just the way it was. You're required to be good all the way around, not just I carry a pigskin up and down the They're cheating these kids out. By the way, let's get back to students in this country. And they never leave. Once they get here, they don't leave. They bring their families here. We're selling our country out so bad. And the thing is, we're paying for it all, people. I wonder what the Chinese kind of deal they get to bring their students over here. What kind of money they get refunded and stuff off the American taxpayer. Anyway, Donald Trump, he could kiss my ass. And then I was watching another video from a veteran biker or whatever it was, Marine stuff, over in Middle East during after 9/11 and stuff. And I didn't hear about this because I kind of been staying away from the damn news and stuff. It's so freaking depressing. But he's talking about some Al Qaeda leader that had a $10 million bounty on his head for killing Americans and stuff was welcomed in the White House by Trump a couple days ago. John McCain, remember that, taking pictures with terrorists in Syria? I think Biden had some Al Qaeda dude terrorists at the White House. See, our politicians live in a different world than us. They do. We're nothing but little peasants to them that are on this earth to make sure their life is comfortable. And if we get out of line, you'll have a no-knock raid at 6 a.m. in the morning, and they'll just shoot you the fuck down. You know, we have our own versions of the night of the long knives. Okay? Yeah. How many people during Biden's administration got shot down by the ATF, the FBI, and stuff at 6 a.m.? Well, there was one kid. I mean, just now that I'm thinking about more than I can remember. And you know, once one side does it, even though it's illegal, the other side, like the Republicans, well, we can do it now because the Democrats did it. Just like when the Democrats get the power, buddy, and everything Trump's done. All I know is when the Democrats get the power, Trump's going to jail. They're throwing his ass in jail. Unless he's part of the cabal, which I'm starting to think he is anyway. You know, with all this, you know, like I say, you got Israel, the old puppet strings. The strings are the E-list, right? Right, Trump? That doesn't exist. It's a hoax. Well, he said it was a hoax, but now it's coming back like it's true. And we got our dancing politicians, especially the ones that go to the wall, bang their head against it and say, "Kid, I'll kiss your ass, Israel." I wouldn't let him go to jail. I would if he broke a damn law. If he didn't, no. I believe all. Let's see. Well, the lists don't exist. It's a hoax. Okay. So, you know, you don't want to let him go to jail. That's fine. He'd be more than willing to put you in jail. He wouldn't have a single fucking problem with that. Okay? Wade, he would throw you in the can or throw away the key, and nobody would give a shit. Oh, who would, just like the January 6th protesters, that some are still in jail. Trump supporters still in jail on trumped up charges. And Trump ain't doing nothing about it. What about those supporters, Wade? I don't think you know what a hoax is. I don't think it was a hoax. It's not a hoax. Not when you run your whole campaign on releasing it. All right. I mean, Epstein offed himself because he was downloading child porn. Jizzy Maxwell's in jail. Why? I don't know. Not if Epstein didn't do anything, obviously Jizzy Maxwell couldn't have done nothing, right? If she was his conspirator, but he actually never did nothing. But let's not ask questions like that. She's sitting pretty good now. She's in her minimum security prison. She's doing pretty good. She even gets to play with dogs. I don't even want to know how she plays with them. Anyway, these people are sick. They don't care about us. After what Trump said to Laura Ingraham, they don't care. We all go, the normal person goes about their business every day. We have our lives, okay? And we got to be concerned with what our politicians are doing, right? The only time our politicians are concerned with what we're doing is when we're making their lives a little harder than they think we should. Or when it comes voting time. And voting don't matter anyway. I mean, anybody who thinks that our elections are solving the problem, haven't solved the problem. You know, every election, I think, since the beginning of the country has gotten the country deeper and deeper in crap. Like the people who did want the Constitution have, the day after it was ratified, started undermining the Constitution. They've been doing it for 249 years. Well, and the Constitution undermining it for 236 years, 1789. But this is the world we live in, people. These are the people we have in charge of us. They don't give a rat's ass. Now they don't even think we're capable. Now we're not even good enough to go to the colleges in our country. No, we need foreigners, especially the enemies of our country. That's who we need there. Listening to these people, Trump is just another politician now. Just another goddamn politician. In the 80s, I was irritated by him because of he was just, go back and watch his shit when he was a egotistical piece of shit, okay? And now everybody's telling him he's Jesus Christ and he can do no wrong and he thinks he's better than George Washington. I'm so sick and tired of people referring to him in Trump 2028. Yeah, whatever. A lot of Republicans would not come out. He couldn't run the third term. It's against the Constitution. It's against the Constitution. Hey, if you like the content, please hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification. Anything to help the channel grow. Like I say, the last thing politicians want, is for YouTube to unite people. You got to admit, social media is used now to divide people. All you got to do is look at the trolls in your live streams and stuff. Eric Trump. You know what? I'm done with the Trumps. I'm done with Clintons. I don't want Chelsea Clinton. I don't want any Biden. I don't want any goddamn Bush. Can we get some new blood in the goddamn hierarchy of the politics? 350 million people in this country, people. And the best we had to vote from was Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I know a lot of people listening to me right now are better than that. But see, this is the thing with conservatives. We're our own worst enemy because we don't want to get involved. We don't want people telling us how to live, and we don't want to get into the business of telling other people how to live. So we just kind of do our own thing and let everything steamroll over us. This is what politics needs to be like, jury duty. Where if, an area's got a great guy and everybody likes him and stuff, they tell him, guess what? You're running for Congress. You don't have a choice. It's got to be like jury duty. You're chosen. That way, people, I don't want to be a politician. It doesn't matter. You need to do good for the country. And then after they do their term, then they get to go home and no retirement and stuff. Hey, Zay, I understand. I tell you what, Trump told me to F off. Trump said he didn't need me because if you believe it's a hoax, I don't need you. So I had my president tell me to kiss off. Now he's saying I'm incapable. And that my children and grandchildren are incapable and will never amount to anything. And the thing is, he says this, right? And he's got the Department of Education in the federal government, which he was going to get rid of, remember? And he's not blaming them at all. He's not saying the reason our kids aren't capable is because our Department of Education sucks and our social structure and our what's going on in our society sucks. He's not going to take no credit for that. And I will admit to him a little bit, being older, a lot of this younger generation isn't capable because they're not ambitious. They were never challenged as children. You challenge your kids. You give them goals they got to achieve. You give them chores to do. Okay, life isn't enough to just sitting in front of video games and eating every day. They didn't have that. And a lot of us in, Gen X's see it. I'm not saying they're all that way, but it's not like, when I was growing up, a hardworking kid was a dime a dozen. Okay? Now it's like seeing a hardworking kid these days. Now around here it ain't so bad with the farming and ranching, but it's like pulling teeth from a chicken. Okay, you can't find them. And the ones that are there that are the hard workers that want the American dream and stuff and all this shit, you know, like right now, how many families am I supporting working? I don't know, 3 or 4. In 20 years, 30 years, how many families are they going to be supporting? 10, 11? Oh, just a second, people. Got to add a moderator there. I see Jim's in here. Jim, you are now a moderator. By the way, where's candidate Trump? I would have never voted for a guy, the guy I went to vote it. I definitely wasn't going to vote for Kamala Harris, but I want to vote to make sure she didn't win. But with this shit, I'm telling you, I vote 1776. And if there's some candidate on the ballot, none of the above. These people have to get out of power. They're going to see what the American public is capable of. But see, the longer they go with dumbing these kids down, I mean, Gen Alpha is the new kids up to like 6th grade, 4th or 5th, 6th grade, right? And these kindergarten teachers are quitting because half their class isn't even potty trained. I can't imagine being a kindergarten teacher with kids going to that piss their pants and shit their pants. Those parents would be called in immediately and say, how can you sit there and teach a class when your kids, hey, we've all had babies. You can tell when your kids go in the bathroom in their diaper. What, are they putting diapers on these kids and the teacher's got to change diapers? Like I say, there's a lot of things in America where, yes, Americans aren't capable. Jim's a truck driver. Ask him how capable the drivers are out on those roads. He drives a milk semi. I won't even drive the interstates anymore. I worked in a truck stop for a while and saw that at least 60% of them couldn't even read English. Hell yeah, yellow tape over the bathroom door and, it's sealed off, and they still didn't understand the bathroom was closed. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these schools that people have now these days, we learned growing up. I mean, there's a college class for everything now. Something by the time, when I was 8 years old, I already know how to do it proficiently. And we send 20-year-olds to go to school for that. We aren't qualified as a nation, not all of us, but some of us. And the thing is, Trump, you're on the same game plan to make sure that everybody does become unqualified and incapable of doing anything except signing up for their universal basic income. I just don't understand the point of giving us universal basic income and bringing foreign workers in here to pay taxes to pay for that. I mean, nothing about that plan makes sense. We would become, American citizens would become such a drag on everything that we'd have to, eventually we would, they would have to get rid of us. This is the thing. If you're not productive in your country, you're not helping your country be productive. And I don't understand why they're trying to make all Americans unproductive. Like I say, Trump sits there and says, we're not capable. Laura Ingraham should have slammed into him about the Department of Education. When our children aren't capable of filling the roles we filled, because we allowed this shit. I mean, back when my kids started school in 2002 and the last one graduated in 2019. And the arguments I had with my children about what the teacher said. I mean, one time I had all girls, right? And they were sitting there telling me how great China was. I said, where'd you hear that from? And they go, our teacher said that. Oh, I said, do you realize in China, you girls probably wouldn't be alive now? And they looked at me like, what are you talking about, Daddy? I said, ask your teacher about the one-child policy. And I told them about it. I educated my children on facts. You know what? That guy almost got me in trouble in that school in Minnesota. I was in Nebraska, but my ex-wife got a call from the school asking what I was telling them. You mean I was lying to them? I had a lot of arguments with superintendents and stuff. This is bullshit, and I can't imagine it's any better. Like I say, at least when my kids were going to school, the kindergarten kids were still potty trained. But the teachers have had enough. Well, you know what? You're all liberals. Welcome to your policies not working out. You mean you're finally suffering the consequences for this shit? Teaching is no longer a career, they say, that you retire from. It's something you do for a little bit, a few years, and you get tired of it. Because kids don't have respect. They can't be taught because they have no attention. I mean, they're saying the teacher could sit there and give a class a 15-minute lesson and ask these kids right after they're done, and that they didn't know a single thing the teacher said because they're so full of their phones and tablets and stuff. So Trump was right. And that's what pisses me off too, because the government caused this shit. You know, like I said, I was taught by teachers. The Department of Education came out in 1979. All my teachers I had in school, except for a couple that were new ones in my junior and senior year, were teachers before the Department of Education. And every single one of them quit in the 1990s because they couldn't deal with the garbage anymore. They had enough. So we've been screwing now. So that's what, 2 generations now that are screwed? I mean, could you imagine if you were a student that really wanted to learn and you're in a classroom and you got the teachers trying to teach and you got 6 other different conversations going on, kids throwing stuff around? You know, when I went to school, when the bell rang, everybody's when there is their desk, shut up, and the teacher was responsible too. Was at the podium or whatever, ready to teach the class. They had 55 minutes to get what we needed to learn that day in. And they did their job. You know, we sat in our desk and gave them their undivided attention, kept our mouths shut, did our homework, didn't have calculators. Anyway, that's not the way it is. And I tell my kids, we watched Little House on the Prairie when my kids were growing up. And I said, that's what the classroom was like when I was in school. And I said, no way, Dad. Because I would go to their class, you know, when they're in elementary. And it's just like, I'm looking at this and I said, how's the teacher even teaching? You maybe had 3 or 4 students that were paying attention to her. And she's not even paying attention to anything else. Just let them keep doing what they're doing. It's going to make everything better. Education is not what it once was. No, it's not. You know, our education that we got, the one I did, I graduated in 1986. My third grade, we'll go 4th grade. That's not to insult anybody too much. But my 4th grade education level was a high school diploma these days. My high school diploma is basically a college degree these days, a 4-year college degree. And then I have college education too. I got my degree in electronics. You know, so, and not only the education, but the sports. Our sports teams, when we were in school, would wipe these high school teams, oh my God, totally destroy them. You know, a lot of it's because the coach participated. Instead of unless football they didn't, It's not like the coach was dressed up in pads, but basketball, wrestling, track. Okay. The coach was there dressed up, not in a suit, in street shoes, watching the kids go up and down the court. I mean, I actually saw in the town I live here in Chapel, Nebraska, the track coach had the kids that run out on the gravel road. He was riding a frickin' bicycle. A bicycle. And I guess you need a college teaching degree certificate to teach football. Well, I don't think our town's won a football game in 9 years. Maybe we should bring a father in that knows something about football. Yeah, you like bicycles. Yeah, Travis. But I think if you were the track coach, you'd probably be running with your athletes with you. Get a job. Well, I got one here. I'm on YouTube, right? Got you listening to me. I must be achieving something. I got one customer. You have bad knees? This dude gets angry if you walk on his grass. Oh, yes. Nobody walks on my grass. You hit that on the nose. You damn right. I got sidewalk in my yard. I spent a lot of time getting my lawn good. No, you don't walk on my grass. Good, good observation, sir. Stay off people. Not considerate. I mean, you sit there and you see somebody's got a nice lawn. Now, somebody's got weeds. If they don't got a nice lawn, I'll walk on that. But somebody's got a nice lawn and sidewalks around their yard. Yeah. You don't. I mean, the guy or the woman takes pride in their property. It's not like you go, oh, that guy's got a nice garden, and you start walking through it and picking fruit and then leave. I mean, maybe some of you do. I don't. And pick up your dog's poop if they're go poop. Well, all mine, I got a fenced-in yard, but I live out in the country, and they're all smart enough to go out to the field. Never taught them that, but they'll all go out to the field. They help fertilize the crops. Anyway, I tell you what, this weather we've had is crazy incredible. It was almost 80 yesterday and no wind in Panhandle, Nebraska, and this time of year, and today it's going to be in the mid 70s. I mean, we don't have no cold weather. We should have snow by now. I got to go enjoy some more of this. Today I'm going to go ride my horse. I got a couple horses, but one's retired. I rode him for 13 years, did a lot of cowboying with him, but he's retired now, and I got her beauty. So you got to go out and enjoy some of these days. These politicians want to think you're incapable. Keep learning the skills you need to sit there and show them that we are completely capable. God, talk about kicking you in the teeth. I mean, he wants to kick all these people off Section 8, right? Entitlements, government entitlements. What I think they should be worked off entitlements. Okay, but then he's going to sit there and give all our entry-level jobs to foreigners and then sit there and say Americans aren't capable? Well, then I guess if we're not capable, you better take care of all of us, Trump. We're all going to be your children now, aren't we? We're all going to be your dependents. But Byron Trump, he's perfectly capable, right? And all your other grandkids and stuff, they're perfectly capable. But us little people, I mean, I've never been. That's what you tell a slave. Fuck him. Fuck him. And if you don't want to sit there, we're going to have to close some universities because we're going to not let foreign students in here no more and actually care about America first. Like they say, these colleges have all this goddamn money where they can pay their athletes now. And a lot of it's our taxpayer money. Like I tell you people, this H-1B visa program, if they get paid $60,000 a year, the government reimburses the employer half that. So the employer gets $30,000 back. So they actually only paid $30,000. And that's what, if you're competing with an H-1B, that's what your wages are based on. Not what they make, but what the employer has to pay them after the employer gets 50% of their salary back. Oh yeah, look at it, look it up. Nobody said nothing about that. And how do I know this? Because I worked with the guys. I worked with H-1B visa, and they even admit, you guys are getting screwed. And then they come to our country and are disrespectful fucks. I had one South African that was just a disrespectful fuck. I don't have a problem with somebody being nationalistic. But if you're going to come in this country and start bashing the United States, I'm like, where are you making your living from? And he goes, the only reason the United States has never tried to invade South Africa is because they know we kicked the United States' ass. And then this other South African I had living with us goes, shut up. The United States could take us over with one ship if they wanted to. But this is their arrogant, dumbasses, and they know they're getting over on the American people. Now you got the employers that just can't wait but to hire them. Anyway, if you like the content, please hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification. Anything to help the channel grow. Share the content. Bring the people together. I'm not here selling anything or asking for more money. If you have money to give to me, help your neighbor out and give him a bag of groceries. Okay? You want to help out, money isn't going to be a thing. Do things to sit there and help this country become a better place. Fight against the sons of bitches that are your real enemy. Okay? Now, it's going to take the extreme liberals or the extreme MAGA to understand who the real enemy is. Like I say, you got two forms of TDS. One that thinks Trump can do no right, and one that thinks Trump can do no wrong. And believe me, I get blasted by both of them. Actually, MAGA seems to be a little bit more boisterous in their insults than the liberals lately. I guess the liberals don't have to hate me so much anymore because I got Trump in office, and that's their thorn in their side. But dealing with these MAGA people where Trump can do no wrong, you try to talk to them. Where if Biden was doing this shit, they'd have, oh, no way, this is never going to happen. I mean, they'd be fighting a tooth and nail. But as long as Trump's doing it, as long as the Republican democracy is doing it and not the Democratic democracy, we're good. But in the constitutional republic, neither one's allowed to do the shit they're doing. Materialism slave. I tell you what, at least I live a very simple life. I'm not into bells and whistles and all this other shit. I have a 1991 3/4 ton Ford. I'm a simple man with simple pleasures. I hate fucking money. When I traveled the world in the Marine Corps under Reagan and I saw what our money did and what we did to other countries because we were the rich ones, I got really disgusted with it. I mean, it's a necessary evil in today's world. And I choose to partake in them as least of it as possible. Yes, I've been middle class and just gets punished for it. All those extra hours I work just to sit there and pay the government. You don't get ahead. I'd rather stay poor. I don't have a problem with it. A poor, humble guy who's on YouTube here. And this is what I'm saying. I got a small tree business where all I got to do is work a few days a month. There's a lot of money in trees. But the thing is, we call it vintage tree service, me and this other guy. Because we're old, we call it that because we can't find no young guys to help us. But we make plenty of money to survive. But I can regulate how much I make, okay? I'm sick and tired of we're just feeding the giant, feeding this incredible monster that's just take. What side is any different? What Republicans and Democrats? wings of the same bird. They both steal from you, spend your money that they stole from you on stuff you don't agree with, and divide us. They all want to take our rights. Republicans want to take our gun rights just like the Democrats do. Seems like the Supreme Court's the only thing in their way right now. Which one's different? Like I say, years ago, I remember growing up, and there wasn't all this division, political division, that there's in this country today. All this hate that goes around. If everybody sat there and just slowed their life down a little bit, they would sit there and take a look around, they'd realize what they were missing. I don't understand the point of working your whole life to die the richest person on your block. With financially, that is. The richest person. For a piece of paper, people. That's basically worth nothing. The only thing is you can still exchange it for goods that are worth something. Okay, that's what I like about money. I can sit there and exchange it. It's worthless. But hey, guess what? This idiot will take it for, I need gas. This idiot will take these dollars so I can put gas in my truck. The barter system's coming back. And the people that have a lot of skills, if you can do mechanical stuff, if you can do self-defense stuff, if you can grow your own food, if you can can your own stuff, if you can kill your own food and harvest the meat and all that stuff, and I even know, since I have background in electronics, I can even build a house that had running water and electricity. Construction, like I say, skills people. I've done a lot of things in my life. I've never stayed in one field for particularly too long, because once I master it, this is me. Once I master something, and I always go to, when I do something, I always go to master it, 100%. And then I get bored with it. So then I move on to the next skill set. I'm sure a lot of other people are that way. It doesn't make you a bad employee. It's just like, this job is like, I could do this in my sleep. What am I still doing here? It takes away from your purpose of life and learning. And I especially being in a cubicle. God, that's the worst shit ever. But anyway, yeah, I like learning new stuff. And the people that have skills, okay, they're going to be the ones that have all the gold. They're going to be the ones doing all the teaching. So Warren Buffett only destroys. Warren Buffett actually once said that if he was in, the survival of the fittest, the laws of nature and stuff, nature selection, he'd have died a long time ago. He even admits to that he's an inferior male. That money's the only thing that put him where he's at. He even admits that. So that's a man who understands that one day that could all end too. Anyway, but don't worry, we got AI coming up. Like you said, I didn't ever think when I was watching the Terminator back in the early 80s that could actually be actual stuff. And it's like human beings are just trying to get that to come to happen. We all need Skynet now. We all need autonomous robots. Police departments using robot dogs and stuff that I think some are actually armed. And making them autonomous so they can think for themselves. Crazy times in this world, people, crazy times. But I guess if we're not capable of stopping it, if we're not capable, we need to make machines capable. See, this is the thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to make machines smarter with AI, and we're not educating our kids, so our kids are going to become dumber. Does anybody see us losing? We're on the top of the totem pole right now. Anybody see us going maybe a couple notches down? I think if AI takes over, they will probably call themselves Skynet. Ha ha. No, I don't know. They probably call it Skynet behind the in closed doors and stuff, but it'll be called something different. The thing is, we already got it, starting to get it in place. With everything being connected the way it is, they even say with this AI that these computers that are talking to each other are creating a new language that we don't understand. These computers that are talking to each other are doing it in a way where we can't understand it. And can a machine get as smarter than a human, where it can actually know what taste is, know what something feels like? Could a machine actually ever get like that? God help us if they do. I do believe that the first emotion that a machine is going to feel, the first two emotions, will be fear of not existing and hatred of those that can cause them to not exist no more. 90-year-old man sitting on top of a mountain. And everybody needs to be aware of that. When they're self-aware, you're going to be dealing with, like that episode of The Twilight Zone where that little kid basically took over that town because he was in, he could make anything happen, turn anybody into anything and stuff. Crazy times, people, crazy times. And it all led to, now Trump, since we haven't educated our children in 30 years like we were educated, now Trump can sit there and call us incapable. I just don't understand. I know I'm not an enemy of somebody that disagrees with me politically. I'm not your enemy. And I know you're not my enemy. I just have woken up and see, when your enemy is saying somebody else is your enemy, you gotta stop listening to these people. They don't see the end result. The thing is, the end result is good always triumphs over evil. The light will always triumph over darkness. I mean, throughout history, tyrants have tried this, and they've never succeeded. Every government in history has always learned that the ember of freedom is always more powerful than the fire used to forge the sword of control. Always. And our government will be no different. England found that out when they pushed the colonists too far. And, our government's going to find out when we finally get a backbone, and they've already pushed us too far. We already see, you can't hide nothing these days, okay? And, our future generations are going to hate us, but we need to fix this problem. So maybe they have some sort of life. Like I say, we're financing our lifestyle because we can't give it up by our unborn children's children. Okay, it's bad enough that we put these young adults $100,000 in debt after they graduate college and basically get nothing for it. But can you imagine being hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt the second you're born? You don't stand much of a chance, do you? That's where they want to get everybody. I'm sure they're going to come up with a solution to all this, and it's just going to be more control. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty pissed at Donald Trump. Bad enough he said he didn't need me because I thought the list wasn't a hoax. But now we're incapable. We need H-1B visa workers from everything from picking our tomatoes to sitting in our cubicles to running Walmart, everything. Does anybody feel we may have sold our country out? Our politicians may have. And now we're just in the way of them really making money. They can't have a bunch of people like me, especially sitting there pointing out how screwed up things are. Because the stock market's almost 50,000. Things are great. Things are great. Don't look at the prices of things. Don't realize that you can't afford to live. Everything's great. Well, I know a lot of Americans that don't believe that bullshit because they're living the life that isn't great. Okay? More money, the more money you have, the more money they get to take from you. That's why this life of poor and being humble is a lot more fulfilling. Okay? Say, watch my shorts. I have fun. Well, I've been on here for an hour. That's all I got for today. I appreciate everybody being here. Like I say, please hit that thumbs up, that subscribe, and the bell notification. Anything to help the program. And I'll stick with just a second. Boomers did to this, and the people over the age of 40. I want to address that real quick. You guys do have a point. I have said this for years. I'm Gen X. This is my generation. This is the boomers that did this. This is the hippies that have allowed this shit to happen, made it possible, made the laws to screw our kids over. You younger generation have a right to be mad because boomers could sit there, work a 40-hour week, raise a family, buy a house, buy a car, have vacations, and had a retirement plan. You're absolutely right about being upset about that. So you going to do anything about it? We going to do anything to bring those days back? Or are we just going to continue on with today into tomorrow like it is without doing nothing? This is channel about banding together too. Like I say, if our military, all us vets, 3 or 4 million of us vets, decided to sit there and have exercises on the outskirts of Washington, D.C., not causing problems, not ruining property, not doing nothing, just a demonstration to the government what the Second Amendment really means. 3 or 4 million. That way you know you wouldn't have to worry about law enforcement or the military, because our military is not that big. Not to be violent, but a demonstration of force. You guys want what the boomers have? I want my kids to have it. I have my kids that are all in their 20s having to deal with this shit, working their asses off, having nothing. I'm pissed. Anybody your age pissed enough to sit there and do something about it? I feel for you guys. But you know what? We had idiots in our generation. You know who runs for politics? You know that idiot in your class that was picked on? That everybody, the little piece of shit? That's who becomes your politicians. The beta males. And the crazy females. We allowed this to happen. I am sorry for what my Gen X and the baby boomers did. Because I see it every day. You guys have been robbed of an education. That's what pisses me off the most. You rob them of their education. And like I say, I was up in first grade, 4:30 in the morning doing chores before school. And then I had to do chores after school. And we still did our homework, and I still did good in school. And then when you got into high school, you worked a job, did your chores, went to school, and still did sports. You don't have that no more. And the ones that I guarantee you that left their message, they are ambitious. And they want to live the American dream. And they have a right to be pissed at Gen X boomers. But you know what? I see these politicians that age, I say, where the fuck were they hiding? These retarded people hiding when I was growing up. But then again, nobody from my town has ever been in Congress, the Senate, or president. But you know what? I'm willing to do something to make sure. I want my generation to pay for what they did to our country. Like I say, they robbed you people of a future. Robbed you. So instead of being pissed at boomers, get talking with boomers that think like you, that believe that, yeah, you have been screwed over. I've said that for years. You didn't say nothing that I haven't said for years. Like I say, I had to deal with my kids going through the schools system. You have no idea how many arguments. They almost called the cops on me one day in school. That's what I get for standing up for other people's kids and my kids, right? You know, after Nazi Germany fell, those kids have been robbed too. A lot of them lost their lives, okay? But you had people that were in their 20s when they started up education again, people that were in their 20s that were in fourth grade classes because they never got educated under the Nazis. They got indoctrinated. History's just repeating itself. You know, this country did so well in the 50s, made all that money off of World War II, and that our politicians, it got spent stupidly. This country made a lot of money, and this country got soft. And then, you didn't want to stand up to their kids. And one thing about you younger generation too, did you like being disciplined? See, when we were growing up, our parents told us, we don't care what your feelings are. Deal with it. You want to make some of your life, you make it. Life isn't fair. It's only as fair as you make it. Do what you enjoy in life, and the money will come later in life. Think all these boomers had what they had when they were first freshly married at 20 years old? It's just they had more opportunity. But do you ever notice that now we have to have everybody working in this country, so we got more people paying taxes and our government's still broke? How the hell did this government ever survive? Basically, just men were working and women were at home, and they only worked 40 hours a week. I have been saying we need to bring those days back. Okay? And, at least you want them for your children, right? If you can't have them, you want those times for your children, right? So it's time to get active, people. Like I say, that's what this channel is about, bringing people together. You got the 20% lunatic liberals, 25% lunatic mega, with 60% of us in the middle that are saying, can we just get our country back, please? Anyway, I guess the only safe job now in America is if you belong to a union. Anyway, that's all I got for today. I'm glad somebody brought that up and I addressed that. But I understand where you're coming from. Like I say, I saw it long before you did. I saw the destruction of our country. I went in the Marine Corps during Ronald Reagan and got out during Clinton. I had seen the way the country was going to fall. What a dramatic change. Anyway, appreciate everybody being here. Like I say, hit the thumbs up, the subscribe, and the bell notification. Check out my other content. Share it. Okay? I believe a Democrat, liberal should be able to live just as free as me. Live his own life the way he wants. Okay? It's just within the confines of the Constitution. And the one thing about the Constitution, communism and Nazism and totalitarianism in any shape, way, or form is not welcome, is not allowed here because it goes against the Constitution. Anyway, I need to do a video on the whole Constitution one day. Read it, and go over some parts where I can show specifically where they're breaking it. Like I say, Doge, every American citizen by the Constitution has a right to know all information that Doge had. All of us are allowed it by the Constitution. What do you think would happen then if we got to follow a $38 trillion in debt money trail? I think we'd probably find a few crimes. Wouldn't you think so? Anyway, everybody enjoy your day. I'm going to go out and enjoy this wonderful day again. 75 degrees in the middle of November in the Panhandle of Nebraska. I tell you what, when winter hits, we're going to pay for this. Anyway, everybody have a great Friday and enjoy your weekend. And like I say, go watch my other content, my shorts. I got well over 1,300 videos. Check some of them out. You may enjoy them. both stuff to make you laugh and make you think. Anyway, this is Tom with Hidden Truths. I'm out of here.